Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to join here in this panel discussion. Uh, as a keynote address, I'll take only a couple of minutes indicating all the possibilities that the future presents to us. And I believe that what all technology enthusiasts could not do in 10 years, I think the corona pandemic did in the past 2 years, and exposing us to all possibilities to learning and the kind of development that might take in the future. Some time ago, I had written a piece, and I'm picking up some pieces from that article that I had written about the future. So I'm assuming that given the way we are moving, the campuses may cease to exist, and the teaching learning may be transformed from physical to virtual. And the rapid technological advancements would abet the transition quite rapidly. All the limitations of availability of energy and the data divide, I believe in long run would be taken care. Perhaps man-made sun would become a perpetual source of light and energy, making access to electricity at a frugal fare for all. The network connectivity would move perhaps to 9G and 10G, maybe beamed through a space station, would enable probably the terabits connectivity, and would be available to all nooks and corners, irrespective of the location, irrespective of the limitations of people. The future world may see communication going global. It's already, but from global to becoming universal, and probably may not need any device to access. Probably a prenatal bionic chip administered during pregnancy would serve multiple purpose of universally accepted unique identification authority, which will, and also the universal fintech service access, which will also provide people with an automatic license to lifetime access to unlimited data and use of universe wide web. And we need no device, but just by blinking our eyes or movement or some gestures will prove our identity, would be able to pay taxes, will be able to file our returns, will receive funds, transact, invest, and walk into augmented reality. Maybe we will also see a situation in future where some 10% of our people would make home at moon, while another 5% may colonize the Mars that by now would be terraformed by our efforts. And with substantial business interest here on the globe, they would keep coming and going through teleport between this earth and the other places. Maybe a minuscule minority of the earthlings like us occasionally get to traverse the universe in pods, mostly for business. Perhaps universal basic income would become a norm. Everybody shall have a minimum level of income that would be available to him for all the transactional need. And when these things would be happening in future, the education would obviously will not remain untouched. So the technology-aided teaching with artificial intelligence and machine learning enabled evaluation would become a norm. And when this become a norm, there would be no need to put any kind of restrictions on the intake of students, and that will become soon redundant. So any institution could admit any number of students And as a result, learners from low-ranked institutions would migrate in hordes to the top-ranked universities. And with no institutions on their roll, most of these low-quality higher educational institutions would either close down, consolidate, merge, or finally get settled as a lifelong learning and skill augmenting tertiary education centers. Probably the social media and the web presence would take over as a career guidance counselor advising potential learners with AI curated courses customized for individual aptitudes. And when this would happen, the student would be perhaps unshackled from the clutches of a single university, permitting seamless qualification access and portability across institutions in the universe. Luckily, our national education policy also does not visualize to this extent, but at least permit for the establishment of the academic bank of credit that you go on accumulating credit from whatever source you want to, or maybe, who knows, even the prior learning, and go on depositing this in the academic bank of credit. And later on, you approach some university, some qualification authority to recognize those accumulated learning into a qualification. I am going a step beyond. As institutions would give way to individual sovereignty, now these students are sovereign. Students accumulate their credits from a wide variety of courses. And why they be limited only to MOOCs, massive open online modules? Maybe they might become humongous open online modules offered by why only humans. Maybe the courses would be offered by humans, humanoids, and cyborg, accredited by the University Higher Education Teaching and Accreditation Authority. So maybe this new authority would be a body to recognize and to accredit who all could teach courses by using any platform or any technology. Of course, they would not offer these courses free of charge, but they will fine-tune their charges according to their TRPs and popularities and with due regards to market consideration. And when this would happen, even the top-ranked universities would lose their relevance and perhaps would be replaced by a universal level higher education qualification authority, one for the whole universe, which would assess, award qualification, and maybe the qualification would come with an expiry tag that this qualification is valid up to this period of time, beyond which it shall have no relevance, and therefore you shall have to come back to this qualification authority with new sets of qualification that you may have accumulated through this humongous World Wide Web or open access online courses. Maybe the research would also become automatic. If not automatic, individuals' research competence and capability scores, maybe you could call it as research acumen and accomplishment index, would be generated and curated through their social media profile. And they would automatically be identified, funded in high priority areas. Research results would be pre-published. They are already being pre-published, but they would also be reviewed. And if you find that they are of some value and could be monetized, then they could be safely stored at locations which are so secure that only limited authorized number of people have these access. So these are the kind of possibilities and the potentials that is being presented to us. And if this potential and this kind of future is the future of the world and of the learning, then we are perhaps also designing and working towards killing our higher education and are also perhaps killing our whole learning environment. Going by the history, I have a feeling that perhaps none of these things would happen. Technology would certainly progress. It would be helpful in improving quality, but as soon as the circumstances are better, the world would be like it used to be, and the universities would return to their old ways. I just recall and close that for 200, 300 years, when we had Black Death, plagues, many people, many universities in Europe would close down and people would migrate to villages. But none of those villages became ever the Academy of Teaching and Learning. Rather, as soon as the threat of the plague was over, the universities became alive again in their old format. I also recall that this Spanish flu, the population of India declined during 1911 and 1921 census, but the number of universities during the period grew up, and none of the universities which were established during 1911 to 1921 were anyway different from the universities that existed before the Spanish flu. So while I realize that technology opens all these possibilities, I see technology only as a substitute, only as an addition or as a value addition to the existing ways of teaching courses. They are not likely to become a substitute to the conventional teaching learning process. So to begin with, I will stop here to allow more discussion on the theme and the topics amongst the panelists. And if the need be, I can come again. Thank you very much.